Here.
Danny Powers.
Here.
Dave Taylor.
Here.
Steve Milstead.
Oh, there are some adjustments to tonight's agenda, but first, is there a motion on the minutes from October's meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 11th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pardon. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We have had a number. Steph, do you want to speak to the agenda, or would you like me to?
Yes, I can speak. So there will be a number of changes we are requesting on the agenda. Items C, D, E, and F did not public notice in time according to our rules and procedures. We cannot have them heard tonight, so those items need to be continued. Item H, we're requesting a continuance as we are still working through the review process of their development plans. The concept plan can still be heard tonight, but we're requesting continuance of the development plan.
So again, items C, D, E, and F missed some deadlines, so they need to be continued. Item H is under review, and there's a request to continue that as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's first consider those. Is there any motion related to those items on tonight's agenda?
I make a motion to continue items C, D, E, F, and H as suggested by town staff.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor of those continuances, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, those items are continued.
Just for the good of the record, I believe item H was properly noticed, so it will not need a new notice since we've continued it at a public meeting, but we will have to make sure C, D, E, and F get renoticed, just for the record and those who are in charge of that.
Thank you. And for any who may have been here to speak today on any of those items, please note that they are continued, and so they are not on tonight's agenda for comment. We do have the option, should anyone...
And they will, assuming they notice in time, will probably move to the next meeting, correct? So if you're here to speak on behalf of Culver's or the gas station, it's not tonight. It'll be moved to the next meeting.
Thank you. We do have in I and J and K and L concept and development plans that can be combined. Is there a desire to do so in a motion?
Okay. I'll make a motion to...
I'm sorry, Mr. President, before we move on, staff just became aware that there's another item. Brittany, do you want to explain? I think there's two more where the notice did not include concept and development. So we need to
yes,
talk about that
I do apologize. So docket J for the development plan for outlot shop sedans and outlot 3, and docket I for the, or L, sorry, L for the shops at Anson Outlot 4. Those were public notice, but the public notice sent out just included the concept plan docket and did not include the development plan docket.
That's disappointing. Okay, so then combination would not be the right way to handle those.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's the right time, I believe, right? Okay, so then it appears that those likewise need a motion for continuance.
So it's I, J, K, and L?
J and
Just
L.
J and
Oh,
L.
just J and L.
Yep.
Okay.
I and K were properly noticed. The concept plans can be considered, just not the development plans.
Okay, so I make a motion to continue items J and L until the next meeting per staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion second. Any other further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So what remains then on tonight's agenda are items A and B, G, I, and K. Does anyone see it differently than I have just listed?
Just note that items M and N still stay on there, not docketed.
Yes.
But they're separate items, and people can comment on those if they have comments.
Thank you for that. So we did have quite a substantial agenda, and it's not normal for us to have so many moving parts right at the meeting. I know staff works hard to make sure that that's the case, and with such a large agenda, thank you for your work on that. We'll hope that these petitioners then will return with appropriate notice, et cetera, for next time. Yeah. Whew. All right. So we have our agenda. I do have a number of requests to speak. They are not listed. Oh, forgive me. They are for a particular item, so we'll hold for that. All right. Are there any public requests to speak on non-agenda items? Any requests on non-agenda? None. No presentations or unfinished business. So then we'll begin with our new business for this evening. We'll start with PC 21-040DP, the development plan for Hussey Mayfield Public Library. Is the petitioner ready?
Yes, good evening.
Evening.
Share on Zoom, please. There we go. Hello, I'm Hannah Fleck. I'm the civil engineer on the Hussey Mayfield Memorial Public Library. I'm representing on behalf of the library. The development is at 6310 Albert S. White Drive. It's approximately 22,000 square foot building, all new library
Ma'am,
space.
do you mind moving the mic a little bit closer to your mouth?
Yep. Do I need to repeat?
Fine, thank you.
Okay.
Are we good? Okay. It's approximately a 22,000 square foot library with all the library spaces inside, and outside a new parking facility and detention area. We have gone through the planning process and look forward to your comments.
Anything else then for just now? No?
That's all.
Thank you. Staff report?
Staff is providing a favorable recommendation for the proposed development plan to be known as Hussey Mayfield Public Library, docket PC 21-039-CP, or sorry, that was concept plan dash PC 21-040-DP.
To note, we're only seeing development plan at this point. Yes?
Correct. We did the concept plan at the last meeting. We delayed the development plan pending BZA variance on the parking, which occurred last week.
Thank you for that note. All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? I don't have any listed. Anything further from the petitioner? All right, then we'll close the public hearing and open to questions and discussion from the commission.
Did you say the variance was approved?
Correct. The variance was approved to move, I believe the parking was something like 41 spots under the UDO, and it was upgraded to 101. I believe it's 97 regular spots and 4 ADA accessible.
Thank you. Is there anything further or a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 21-040-DP development plan, Hussey Mayfield Public Library.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify with aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on then to docket PC 21-042PP, the primary plat for Walker Square Commercial. Is the petitioner ready?
Hello, Matt Maple with HWC Engineering, 135 North Pennsylvania Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana. Here on behalf of Walker Farms Commercial and Corby Thompson here to discuss the split of Walker Farms Commercial plat, calling it Walker Farms, or Walker Square, we're calling it. So
Forgive me, I'm having trouble hearing you as well. If you mind speaking a little further in the mic.
Here just for
Thank
a
you.
primary plat split of 3 lots, 15 acres into 3 lots. We don't have a lot of detail at the moment. We'll be returning with concept plans and development plans in the future, but this is just to establish kind of a right-of-way, a 50-foot right-of-way to run through the development, kind of set it up for development for the 3 lots in the future. I think one's about 8 acres, one's about 3, and one's about 2 acres there along Albert S. White and Main Street. So happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you. Staff report.
Staff is providing a favorable recommendation for the Walker Square Commercial Primary Plat, docket PC 21-042-PP. The applicant is proposing to subdivide approximately 15.2 acres into 3 parcels with an internal street. If Plan Commission approves PC 21-042-PP, the approval should be conditioned that the asphalt path along Main Street to be 10 feet wide.
Thank you. Do you have several who have signed up to speak on this item? So we'll begin there. First, I have John. Is it John Fasick? Patasic. Would you please come forward, sir, and say your name? And thank you.
Needless to say, there's no information to discuss. You know, I hope you're not voting on doing a plot with this with not knowing what's going forward. You know, it's supposed to be 3 different plots. Kind of like to know what the 7-point-something acres is going to be, the 2.8 acres are going to be, and the 3-point-whatever acres are going to be before you would approve these things. I can understand why you want a road through there, but we'd kind of like to know what is being proposed, and he indicated that that would come at a later time. So I would hope that you wouldn't vote to approve that until you know exactly what's going in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Ron Gable?
Yes, I'm Ron Gable, and my house backs up to that. And the key concern for me is what's going to separate our properties from whatever happens to go in there. And the concern is, not knowing what's going in there. But I know a few years ago there was a housing addition that talked about going in there, and they were just going to take the berm completely out and have nothing between our properties and the properties that were going up against our backyards. And I think pretty much everybody here has a backyard that backs up against that. And so the concern is, will we keep the berm? What are the plans for separating what's going in there from the houses? And that's critical, depending on what it is. And it would really be nice to know what it is before a clear go-ahead is on this project.
Thank you. Jim, is it Guzrin? Garen, forgive me. It's an E. I'm sorry.
I'm one of the same group that backs up to this property. And the only thing we're concerned about is more information. And I understand at this meeting tonight, we're not going to learn anything more. Is that correct?
We'll speak to your question here in a moment, but sure, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, that's it. Just want more information, and it doesn't appear we're going to get it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? In closing, thoughts from the petitioner.
Yes. Yeah, at this time, we don't have any plans to present. Those will come back with the concept plan and the development plan. You guys will have plenty of time to analyze all of those when we do. I don't know if you know what the buffer is between on a GB there to the adjacent property owners, but we would be following whatever requirements are in place to buffer between residential and whatever is required for GB and the use that we would have on those lots. there would be probably 2 separate lots that would back up to those homes along there. So two different uses along there. But you know, I don't think that there are any planned variances or anything like that at this time. So when we did come back with a concept plan, we would be assuming that whatever buffer would be required would be kept in place. I don't have anything more to add than that. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think it's interesting that we are not going to share what is proposed on that land when a video was released not too long from this commission or a representative from the city about a park on the first part of the land behind our houses, and then a fire station, and then the other part close to Albert S. White was going to be commercial. That's public knowledge. So I'm wondering why we're not exposing that here today.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we'll close the public discussion and call for questions and comments from the Plan Commission. I think one thing that I would share is that what is before us is only what is before us. All that is before us is the subdivision. The same rules that would apply to the land as it sits now don't change. We're not asking for a zoning amendment. So a developer could come before us with a plan, and the same things that would hold on that land right now will continue and will still hold going forward. So if the developer beyond this subdivision and beyond the road would want to put in X, Y, or Z concept, a planned development, it would be subject to those ordinances, to those plans, including buffers, including landscape, including all the other kinds of things that every other approval is subject to. So nothing here that would be, there's nothing before us to consider beyond the subdivision and the road plan that's in front of us. So there's nothing, no consideration of, I'm not aware of this video. Some of that's because I despise Facebook, and so I don't watch it. I don't watch it. So it's just full of things that are not true, and I said that on the record. Hope that Mr. Zuckerberg will not cancel me now. If those things are not before us, what's before us is just this plan as you see it. I don't know if anyone else has any other.
Well, I would say a couple things. One is that the way that we're going about it is standard. You do a primary plat, you do a development plan, you do a concept plan. If you look back since 2000, this has been rezoned as general business. And there are a certain number of things that fit within general business. Many of them are listed here. If you looked on here, where are they? You know, you can have permitted uses within the zone, government buildings, restaurants, retail, and offices, among other uses. There's some uses that are prohibited, but what we're tasked with is determining if it fits within how it's zoned. And that area was zoned general business since 2000. It hasn't changed. So that's the reality of it, is that if it's a use that is allotted within general business and we don't have any reason to indicate it won't be, then we're not in a position to be able to turn it down. And they'll come forward with a concept and a development plan, and we'll take a look at it. And we'll certainly make sure that they're adhering to the buffers that need to be there, that are said to be there, that the town's put in place. And sometimes we go above and beyond it when we think it's appropriate. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It depends on each situation. But the reality is that there's nothing presented here that we have any that we can say no to. So
I'll just add to as mentioned in the report, the 2000 rezone does have some additional restrictions for general business. So that are listed here. So the rezone prohibited fuel dealers, hotel or motel, nightclub, liquor stores, among other uses. So there are some restrictions as well already in place.
Anything further from the commission?
just sometimes it is hard to know what's going to go in there, even when it gets to a concept and development plan. If it's a retail usage, and one of those options is a drugstore or whatever, it doesn't mean that we'll necessarily know which one it is. It just has to be within what it could be used for within general business zoning. So it's easier said than done to just be able to know what's going to be in every building that we have. That's just not realistic. They bid it out and someone, is a part of it. And as long as they're within that type of use, how it's zoned, then they can be there. So
Staff, do you know off the top of your head the buffer that's required in that?
So they have a couple of different options right now in our UDO for commercial abutting residential. They have an option of a landscape buffer of at least 15 feet wide, where they can provide within their natural landscaping, ground cover, shrubs, trees. They also have another option in our ordinance where they can do fencing, a berm, or a wall, and some vegetation could be included in that one as well to help screen.
And those are things we would consider at a later stage.
Yeah, so when they would file for concept and development plan, they would have to include a landscaping plan, and we would make sure that it does abide by what we have within our ordinance.
In your staff report, you talked about the approval should be conditioned on the asphalt path being 10 feet wide. Can you please describe or say why more on that condition?
So the thoroughfare plan calls for a 10-foot wide path. I believe the submitted plat showed an 8-foot wide path, so that's why we specifically call that out to increase it to 10 foot.
Thank you. Is that a concern for the petitioner?
No, we agree to that. I think that it's 8 foot wide down by the park. So when I was laying it out, I tried to match up to the south, but to the north, it'll be 10 foot coming from the future improvements. Yes.
Thank you. Anything further, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 21-042-PP primary plat Walker Square commercial.
The condition.
Oh, sorry. Yep. With the condition that the asphalt path along Main Street is 10 feet wide.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes and carries. Thank you. And we'll look forward to development concept later. Concept and development. Okay, moving then forward to item G on our agenda. This is docket PC 21-049CP, the concept plan for Poplar Pediatric Dentistry. Petitioner ready.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Posick. I'm with Civil and Environmental Consultants in Indianapolis, Indiana. Here representing Poplar Pediatric Dentistry here today. The property before you is located at 4736 South Main Street. It is approximately 5.4 acre lot for a proposed pediatric dentistry facility with a gross floor area of approximately 7,200 square feet. The property was previously rezoned to LB local business. Stormwater detention as well as other infrastructure is proposed for this site. The owner is here as well, and we are available for any further questions.
Thank you. Is there a staff report on this item?
Staff is providing favorable recommendation for the Poplar Pediatric Dentistry Concept Plan docket PC 21-049-CP. The applicant is proposing to develop a dentist office and associated parking on approximately 5.47 acres.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item? Yes. In the Zoom. Very good. Laura, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Very good. Yes, we can. Can you please give us your name and address?
Yeah, my name is Laura Aguion, and I live at 6128 Hardwick Drive. And I just didn't recall in the initial proposal about this as the plan being 2 stories. So I was just wondering, as a local business, if that fit or what the staff's thoughts were on that. And if possible, if you could give some examples of other similar uses or buildings in the area that would fit with that local business use. Also, there was some discussion previously during the rezone of this about involving the improvement of the intersection at Main Street and 500 South. Just wondering if that could be part of the commitments of this concept or development plan. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? So if you have any closing remarks? Perhaps if you could speak to any that you'd like to from the earlier comment, that'd be appreciated.
Yes. Yeah, I will. The architect, I believe, is not here presently, but as the engineer on his behalf, I can say that the second floor is for office use. I don't know the square footage off the top of my head, but I would say it's approximately 2,000 square feet or lower. And again, for the office use, the primary operations of the dentistry will be on the main floor.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing and call for questions and discussion among the Planning Commission. A similar site, the similar site that maybe comes to mind for me, and I don't know what its zoning is, might be the Zionsville Country Vet. But I don't know what the zoning is there. Does that?
So
that's a similar kind of local business with most of its operations downstairs and some office space upstairs.
Yes, and that is zoned within the Anson PUD. So in kind of comparison with this, we don't necessarily have a lot of zoning districts within Whitestown that are local business. When we went through the rezone for this process, we found that more of a professional office use fit in with the local business zoning, and we worked with the architect and kind of the building design, and find that it's a unique office space that doesn't exactly look like your standard office building. And with it being in an area that is surrounded by residential, the house could resemble a larger single family home. So we thought it really fit in within the context of the area, as well as the building materials. We made sure they are higher quality.
Thank you.
And also speak with the roundabout improvement that we're looking at 500 Main Street. In October, we released our engineers to start design, and so we've been moving as fast as we can to get that footprint laid out, and we have been working with the engineer and the petitioner to figure out what exactly that layout is. And so here yet this week, we are hoping to get the footprint and share it with them and to work out what that right-of-way and utility easement would look like, since there will most likely need to be some power pole relocations on the southern end of their property. And so we don't have that yet, otherwise we would make that a commitment, but as we don't have that footprint yet, that's why during the development plan we can work that in with it.
So to be clear then, since we're considering the concept plan, those particular details we would expect to see in the development plan. And my memory is that there was also a commitment on right-of-way to make all that possible.
Correct.
Yeah, because one of the concerns we had was about that intersection.
Sure.
And having people turning in and out of there, especially going left.
Yeah, it's becoming a much busier intersection, and just there's lots of challenges from the engineering standpoint with the graveyard that's in the south side of 500. Right. There's floodplain to the west and a bridge. It's too big of a footprint. The retention pond back to the east. So it's making sure we get this right. And so we're looking at a single and 2-lane roundabout. They obviously have much different footprints, and it's just making sure when we do the traffic analysis on 20 years and plus that whichever one we choose will still be working. We don't have to go back.
Right. And just to be clear, based on one of the original question that she asked, there's nothing by having it be 2-story, there's nothing outside of the rules that they're breaking by doing that.
I remember a lot of discussion about this one over a long period of time, and at one point being happy that we were talking about a dentist and not a slaughterhouse.
Yes.
So thank you also for an appealing design on this one in what we've seen previously, and we look forward to more in the development plan as well. Is there a motion or anything further from the commission?
I make a motion to approve docket PC 21-049-CP concept plan for Poplar Pediatric Dentistry.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify with aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We are then on to item I, docket PC 21-051CP, the concept plan for shops at Anson Outlet 3. Is the petitioner ready?
Evening, Chad James with HWC Engineering, 135 North Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, Indiana. We are proposing a 5,000 square foot retail building on 0.93 acres in the Anson development. It's going just east of Koto Steakhouse. Site is master plan for drainage, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you. Staff report.
Staff is providing favorable recommendation for the shops at Whitestown Outlot 3 concept plan, docket PC 21-051-CP. The applicant is proposing to develop retail and restaurant use with a drive-through and associated parking on approximately 0.93 acres.
Thank you. Is there any public discussion on this item? Seeing none. Any further remarks? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Call for questions and comments from the commission. We are again at concept plan stage here. So is there a motion?
I was just going to say that space has been sitting there a while. I'm a little surprised it's still empty. So I make a motion to approve docket PC 21-051-CP concept plan for shops at Whitestown Outlot 3.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on then to item K, docket PC 21-053CP, concept plan for the shops at Anson Outlet 4.
Hello again, Chad James, HWC Engineering, 135 North Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, Indiana. Outlot 4, just east of Outlot 3, we are proposing a 7,400 square foot retail building on 0.93 acres. The site is master planned for drainage, utility infrastructure, and parking lot. So happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you. Staff report.
Staff is providing favorable recommendation for the shops at Whitestown Outlot 4 concept plan docket PC 21-053-CP. The applicant is proposing to develop a retail and restaurant use with a drive-through and associated parking on approximately 0.93 acres.
Thank you. Any public discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Other questions and comments from the commission? Or a motion?
I'm just gonna real quick because we do get questions about properties like this and what's gonna go there. And as we've said before, we actually have very little control over that if it's within how the area is zoned. But when we're talking about retail and restaurant use, okay, when we're talking about retail use, what can you tell me a little bit about what that encompasses. I mean, what falls within retail use? Is retail use like a nail salon? Is it like a cell phone place? Is it like, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to ask is there just, you know, a general idea of what that means?
Yeah, so I can't specifically answer what's going to be there. They are planning to have a drive-through on Outlaw 4, so I do know there's some sort of
fast food,
probably. Or I think there was mention at one point of a tea place or something like that. So we are providing a grease trap, so restaurants can go in there. Retail, you know, kind of what you see out there today is be my best guess.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 21-053-CP concept plan shops at Whitestown Outlet 4.
I'll second.
It's motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on then to item M. This is consideration PC 21-055TA, text amendments to the Whitestown Unified Development Ordinance.
Mr. President, just as a bit of an aside, I know there's no one, well, there's a few people sitting over here. The middle's kind of cleared out. This does, as a text amendment, it does require a public hearing. And so while we would traditionally have a property owner as a petitioner, I suppose in this case, staff and myself are the petitioner. So happy to walk through these with you. Most of the recommendations come from staff, so I'd hand it over to staff to kind of present what's here. But generally speaking, these are requested text amendments to the UDO every couple of years, and we try to do this every year, I know, but at least every couple of years, go through and clean up things that we find that may need addressed, or during the year, somebody says, hey, you don't have this use, or where can we do this type of use? And so these types of things are covered throughout. We also ran into some comments that came back from the state on our building material section, so that's been addressed pursuant to comments from the state. Happy to go through any specifics with you. In terms of the process, you would approve or not approve, give it a favorable or unfavorable recommendation, just like anything else, and it would go to the council for their ultimate decision. And there's multiple ways this can happen, but this is initiated by you as a plan commission. There's no requirement you vote on this tonight. We just need to have the public hearing, and then you all can decide if you want more time, if you feel comfortable with it, what you want to do. So hand it over to staff, see if she has, Brittany or Jill or Lori or Todd have any other specific comments about things that have been added.
I am going to let Jill handle this one. Jill has been great in kind of spearheading our department and leading all of us kind of working her way through all these comments, and has spent countless hours going through all these. So we are very appreciative for her and all of her hard work. So she will be the one presenting this for you guys.
All right, good evening. John sort of took my whole opening, but I'll touch on a few of the proposed text amendments and just run through them numerical order, chapters 2 through 12. So to begin in chapter 2, we are revising the purpose statement for the accommodation business zone. It was duplicative of the professional business zone. We are also adding in uses for gas stations and truck stops. Currently, those are not uses listed anywhere in our UDO, so by adding them in, we'll be able to regulate them and add limitations. Throughout chapter 2, we also made revisions to various limitations and lot coverage restrictions. In chapter 3, we added in regulations for cell towers and solar panels. We did not have any previous regulations for these, and so by adding in regulations, again, we're able to monitor and enforce, place limitations. There have been multiple inquiries for both monopoles and solar panels, and so it was important to get something down on paper before they started coming through. In chapter 4 and 5, there was just some minor cleanup and housekeeping. In chapter 6, we are adding a regulation for wall-mounted lighting. This is consistent with what we've been seeing from engineers, and we just want to get it down on paper that this is what we require so we can, again, enforce it. In chapter 8, we added a couple more temporary signs to our prohibited sign list and removed one sign type from the chapter. Additionally, a few minor housekeeping items such as title changes and grammatical corrections to the chapter. Some of the changes proposed were made to bring this chapter more in compliance with Supreme Court sign cases. In Chapter 9, as John mentioned, the major change in this section was made to revise the residential architectural standards. This is to bring it more into compliance with the state requirements and to gain their approval of the UDO. In Chapter 11, we added some clarifying language and sections to make it more clear what the Plan Commission processes are and how applicants move through to gain approval. Nothing is changing with how Plan Commission operates, it's merely clarifying language for outside entities. In Chapter 12, we added a few definitions to existing uses and their associated uses. All regulatory language is contained within the UDO. These are just simply definitions for uses or uncommon terms. So are there any questions on specific changes?
How'd you manage such a brief summary of such content? There's a lot there. I thought you summarized it well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And indeed, thank you for your work on this. As I was reading it earlier, it did strike me that we did not have language on solar and on cell towers. I did not realize that, and that seems very welcome. Thank you for that.
I have a broader question. Like when you say we added this or we worked on this, who is we? Like staff.
Oh, Todd, Brittany, myself, Lori.
All worked on, looking through all these and figuring out.
Yes, they kind of come up as the year goes on and random things we're reviewing or sign we're reviewing. So.
The removal of the cell tower, I particularly liked when I was looking through it. Like, if y'all haven't used it for a year, it's time to get rid of it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So what's the desire of the commission? Would folks like more time? Would you like to vote on a recommendation today? Felt like I had enough time with it, but it is a lot of pages, so if anyone would like more time, I certainly am open to that.
I didn't see anything in it that brought me any heartburn.
So then the motion, if someone would like to make a motion, it would be to recommend a favorable or a negative recommendation to the council.
I make a motion to make a favorable recommendation to the council for the text amendments to the Whitestown Unified Development Ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This is when you get to say if you want more time. All right, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion signify with aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for your work on that. It really was a lot. Thanks. Item N on our agenda, order of Plan Commission approval of removing parcels from Parkway West. I believe I saw Mr. Messer. I don't know if you'd like to speak to it, or John?
I can speak. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, sir.
Okay. So, hello, Plan Commission. So, yes, this is something that's a Becknell project, and when we originally created this TIF area, we weren't sure what was going in there, but we wanted to allocate the TIF because Ronald Reagan will be going through that area, and just to ensure that there was funding for items like the major roadway infrastructure and drainage that will be needed in the area. So what we've ran into now is some of these residences are going away as part of this. So we're wanting to remove those from the TIF because they create a negative TIF impact. So the value of those houses, properties, if they're taken away, removed, the value of that TIF goes against any future. So if they have a value of $2 million, that bottom value comes out of the TIF as we try to move forward with the project. So this is just breaking those separate from, since the Becknell project is building next to, it's just removing those residential parcels from that TIF. And obviously, legal can speak more onto the impact, any questions there, but I just wanted to give a kind of overview of what this is approved through RDC. and now it's to Plan Commission for approval.
Thank you for that detail. I appreciate it.
In terms of the legal impacts, Mr. President, we've done a couple of these this year, so I'm sure this commission is all aware that the authority of the Plan Commission, the responsibility of the Plan Commission is to determine whether any of these economic development areas, these TIF areas that we determine are in compliance with the long-term plans of the town. And so what you're doing is reviewing it and saying, yes, this complies with our planning. There's nothing here that's out of compliance with our planning. The redevelopment commission is really the body that determines what areas should be TIF'd and whether they should be TIF'd. And this body is just making sure that what is TIF'd is in compliance with your long-term plans. This is actually making a TIF area smaller by removing specific properties. So at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. I do have a map of the 10 properties if anybody wants to see where those are. If anybody's curious.
If you didn't get to see that yet, it will look familiar if you'd like to see it. It's come before us quite recently. Does anybody want to?
If you could throw the map up just for a moment.
I can jump on.
Yes.
Is this wasting everyone's time?
Really. No pressure.
Is he trying to bring up the map?
Guess to get into the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
She gave me quite the look. Did you see that?
It's rough.
All right. Okay. Jill, do you have me where I can share my screen?
There it is.
Okay. So there is generally a picture, it's a very exciting one, of the properties kind of highlighted there. And then down here, these are the very specific parcels that are being permitted.
So everyone's aware that first map that he showed is the entire TIF area. In the second map, the highlighted parcels along 475 there are the parcels being removed. And the Becknell property is just to the east of those parcels.
Does that look familiar to everybody? Okay. Thank you. Sorry for all that effort. Appreciate it all the same.
Your laptop died, right?
It literally died as soon as I showed it to you all.
Oh.
You got a quick glimpse.
Thank you for that.
Print a copy off.
Is there any other discussion, questions, or comments from the commission? The motion would be for a recommendation to the council, correct? Or is this one we actually approve on? Forgive me.
This is one that you do approve. So you approve, and then I'll need a signature from the president tonight, as well as in section 3, we'll need to say how it was approved. Okay, what vote was.
I'll make a motion for approval of removing the stated parcels from Parkway West.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Messer, thank you for joining us in the Zoom. Is there any additional business announcements?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Sarah?
You want me to do it?
I can do it. So we have to notify you ahead of time that we are going to be updating our rules and procedures. So that will be on the next Plan Commission meeting agenda. We're just making sure that we are up to date. There also was some things in our rules and procedures regarding virtual calls that we want to make sure that we are updating and going forward. So we will have that on next agenda.
I think I mentioned that at the last meeting. I just shared, we've been a little back and forth on comments. I just provided an updated version to staff, so you should get that in the next couple weeks ahead of the meeting, so you have that ahead of time.
Thank you. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you all.